What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the KFS pregame show. My name is Andrew. His name is Mensa. His name is XJ, and we are here to preview the next upcoming matchup at Madison Square Garden against the Sacramento Kings. The Knicks come in at 13-13, embrace the mid, as Sean likes to say, sitting at 8th place in the Eastern Conference, exactly one loss behind the Brooklyn Nets for 4th place in the Eastern Conference. At least the loss column is concerned. That's how the season apparently is going to go. We will watch them go under or over 500 by very little and then react accordingly in an overreactionary kind of way. But they're coming in against the Kings, who are one of the hotter teams in the NBA and one of the revelations of the season. We'll preview the Kings right away, actually. Now, normally when I make these graphics, there's a clear 5 to go with and a clear bottom 5 to go with. And against the bad teams, there's always like a long list of bottom 5s to go with and then 1 or 2 top 5s. So this should tell you about the Sacramento Kings, who come in at 14-10. They're 5th place in the Western Conference. They're 6-6 on the road, which is fine for a road team. You want to be about 500. They're 4-1 in their last 5 with an impressive win without De'Aaron Fox, who they will be without tonight as well. Over the Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland. They created a championship belt for the defensive player of the game. I have no idea what that means, but Domantas Sabonis won it. So congrats to your on your belt, good sir. The Kings are really good on offense. They're one of the best offensive teams in the NBA, or top 5 or 6 in just about everything. I will say the 3-point percentage is the number one thing I look for, obviously, against the Knicks. And they're 6th in attempts, so they're going to check it up a ton tonight. They're only 14th in percentage, so we'll see how that pans out. I put De'Aaron Fox's stuff at the bottom without realizing that he was going to be out for tonight's game. So, well, we could talk about how Domantas is averaging like 17 or 11 this year. We could talk about Kevin Huerter, how he's shooting 42% from 3 on 7 attempts. Rookie Keegan Murray is in the conversation for Rookie of the Year, absolutely for conversation for first team all rookie. In the recent game against the Cavaliers, he went 6 of 8 from the field, and he was 6 of 8 from 3-point land. So that is something to watch today. State of the Knicks. Mensa, how you feeling these days about your mid 500 basketball team? The last time the three of us talked was last Sunday when we thought the coach was going to get fired, and they haven't lost since. This team, this season.
What a season.
Did they find something in Quentin Grimes and Deuce McBride and this newfound defense? XJ is already shaking his head and rolling his eyes. Where do you stand on this?
Honestly, last week I was pro fire the coach, not because I thought the coach was doing a bottom 30 job, as much as I thought that getting the coach out of here would mean that the front office would eventually get out of here. And of course, this week Bob Myers isn't signed a contract, so get ready for those rumors. But seeing that after Tibbs plays the kids and the kids look good, it kind of makes him look worse, if I have to be honest, because these guys were always on the roster. They were always there. And the coach is just like, well, I'm going to play this guy. I'm going to play this guy. I'm going to scream ice. Well, he hasn't really been screaming ice that much this year. But even so, it makes the front office look better when the players on the roster are doing a good job that they drafted, that they put on the team, and specifically knowing who the coach was, because there may not be 5 people in the NBA who know Tom Thibodeau better than Leon Rose. So for him to have drafted Deuce McBride the way he drafted Deuce McBride, the Quentin Grimes pick, re-signing Mitchell Robinson, all of these, like, they, in my opinion, are the reason the Knicks are able to compete in these games, because it's the defense that's been getting better. Because to your credit, Andrew, the offense hasn't been the problem this season. So with the defense kicking up, with a guy like Mitchell Robinson playing out of his mind recently, making me look stupid because I am not a Mitchell Robinson guy, with Quentin Grimes kicking it up on defense and with Deuce McBride kicking it up on defense. And to be honest, all three of them are not world beaters on offense so far this season. Quentin Grimes had a great game this week, but he's mostly been off. He's been more off than on offense. And for these guys to have been on the roster the whole time, not necessarily Quentin Grimes because he's been hurt, but with Deuce McBride being on the roster and finally taking the spot over Derrick Rose, again, to your credit, Andrew, you said should have happened when we were having.
It was like, is it time to start thinking about this? And
right, and you were right. It was time to start thinking about it. They've always been here. The coach is now playing them, and lo and behold, they play well to the style. And the last thing I want to say is that I think John on one of the post games was saying that once you give Thibodeau players who buy into the scheme and will play hard, he's going to look good. You can say that for 29 other NBA coaches, so it's this past week for me, and I'm not calling for anybody to be fired because results are everything in this league, obviously, but this week has been, in my opinion, an indictment on Tom Thibodeau because these guys have always been here. He's finally given the fans what they want, and now we're looking good.
I don't know how you could call an undefeated week an indictment on somebody, but somehow we figured
on his mindset, not necessarily on him, but like it's like they've always been here. We've always had these guys, and he, for whatever reason, didn't want to give him rotation spots, didn't want to give him minutes. And now that everybody on Twitter who has been screaming about Deuce McBride and all of these guys, now that we look like we're not that crazy, it's like what took so long? I don't want to hear that last month they weren't ready, but this week they are. Like I don't believe that.
Well, hold on. Last season, the point was there. Like they had the 3-17 stretch, and it was like, what's the point? Like, why are we still trying to see if this Alec Burks at the point guard lineup makes sense? Let's see quickly at point guard. Let's see what Deuce is. Let's see Obi minutes. Let's see Obi and Randall minutes. Like, I agree. I can understand if this season it took a little longer to go to a guy that is not shown to be a positive offensive player in the NBA yet. He's been an outstanding defensive player, which is why I was like, I understand Derrick Rose is your guy, but like you might want to pivot to Deuce at this point. And the other thing, like, it is game 26, or tonight is game 27. Like, the season is not that long. He's given it like 5 to 6 game stretches to see if stuff works. And that's why last Sunday it felt like, all right, let's see if one other pivot has worked. And thankfully he ran into a Hawks team that is in a bit of a free fall, and he ran into the Hornets, who have already free fallen, which is why tonight should be interesting. XJ, I know you're chomping at the bit to get in on this, so go ahead. How have you experienced this past week of Knicks basketball?
I'm just going to force you to be the Jonathan Macri.
I feel like I have to be. How are we 3-0 and still blaming the coach?
Absolutely. What Mensa said was absolutely astute, 100% on point. I had a very similar point. There's 240 minutes that you can allocate to players over the course of a basketball game. How you allocate those minutes and who you allocate those to is one of the most critical functions of a coaching staff. Typically, a head coach makes those decisions. Many of us have been calling for these young players to play for 2 years. We're talking about Obi, we're talking about IQ, we're talking about Grimes, we're talking about Deuce, we're talking about Sims. I'm so glad we're finally seeing it. But the more it works, it is absolutely an indictment of Tibbs. And I can explain with an analogy. Let's think about this situation. Let's say like GMAC runs KFS, right? And let's say KFS hasn't been doing too well the last couple of years, kind of been meandering around. This is obviously not true. This is, of course, a hypothetical.
Go ahead. It's an indictment on me. Go ahead. Let's see it.
But let's say we haven't been doing too well. Everyone tells them, you really need to put Mensa in on the pregame show. Mensa's really good. You know, he brings people in. He gets the ratings up.
Who's your Evan Fournier? Let's hear it. Name names. Who's been Evan Fournier?
I'm not saying who needed to come off. I'm saying, let's say everybody's telling you this. For 2 years, we've been telling you this. And you're like, no. You're stubborn. You're grounded to your own ways. You're not making the change. You refuse. 2 years later, it looks like, you might be at the end of your rope here. Someone else might be brought in. KFS is not improving. Things aren't going too well. You finally put in Mensa, and then KFS blows up. Wow. The pregame show is blowing up. We got thousands here in the live chat. are we going to say, wow, AC is really doing a great job with KFS? That's amazing. They're on a winning streak. They're blowing up. They got thousands in the chat. No, we're not going to say that. We're going to say, what are you doing? What have you been doing these past 2 years? Why did it take you this long? And this is absolutely an indictment on your ability to manage an organization. In this case, KFS. In the other case, the Knicks roster, from a basketball operations perspective. I just think, we talked a lot about like, okay, if we fire the coach, what's going to change? Nothing's going to change. We still have the same, bad roster construction. Like nothing much is going. Yes, exactly. KFS Superstar 6 fan here. Mensa, I appreciate you changing your name to that. Like we talked about bad roster construction and what's going to change if we fire the coach. This is what I've been talking about. We fire the coach, things are going to change. Young players are going to play more. There's going to be a different approach. We're seeing some of it now. I'm going to give Tibbs credit on one thing alone, and that's flexibility on his defensive scheme because he has changed things recently. And that's something I wanted to touch on.
Well, take it away.
Over the last,
go ahead.
It'll be quick. Over the last 3 games, they've gone from giving up around 40 3-point attempts per game, which is horrible, like all-time history of the NBA bad, to about 32 3-point attempts per game. That's an insane drop-off, right? And people are going to say, oh, it's because of the personnel change. It's because Deuce McBride is playing. No, it's not because of the personnel. They've changed the scheme. If you pay attention, you'll see that they're switching a lot more. They're switching Randall onto guys, a lot smaller guys, a lot more consistently. In the first quarter of the most recent game, in the Hornets game, we saw Grimes and Randall switch a Rozier, a Terry Rozier, and PJ Washington pick and roll 3 times. 3 times they made that switch in the first quarter. We haven't seen that early in the season. And 2 of those possessions ended with attempted post-ups by PJ Washington that Grimes defended beautifully, and they got 0 points out of those. We're seeing a different kind of scheme. It's, of course, with these guys playing hard, Grimes, IQ, Deuce, anything you do is going to look better, like Mensa said. But we're seeing some flexibility on the scheme, and that coincides with playing these players, and it coincides with this 3-game winning streak that they've had where they've played exceptionally well on the defensive end. So I totally agree. I think it's an indictment on the coach. I have nothing against Tibbs personally. I really did want to see him fired. And a lot of what I wanted to see is what we're seeing now. I think we would have seen the same thing if you were to go. So, we're getting a lot of what we wanted, but, it's all good.
You guys are miserable. Jeez.
I'm enjoying the ride.
I was going to say, are you guys able to enjoy if they win tonight? And
no,
it's with a Tom Thibodeau adjusted scheme with Tom Thibodeau guys, if you want to call McBride and Grimes that. And it's like, he should have been playing them the whole time. Like, what's going to, so there's nothing that could happen that would be like, oh, he's actually done. Like, XJ, to your point, like, he has adjusted the scheme. They've also, like, Evan Fournier hasn't played since the KFS and MSG day. Mensa, like, Derrick Rose's minutes were getting lower and lower as the season has gone along, and now, like, Quigley's the backup point guard. Like, he's staggering the lineups now. Like, he has been more flexible, which is all we asked for last season.
Yeah, I just want to jump in again. I am not miserable with, like, at the end of the day, I'm a Knicks fan, and I'm going to root for Knicks wins over Knicks losses. And the later in the season it gets, and the more hopeless the season gets, wins look different for me than normal. But as of right now, the Knicks are competing. The Knicks have a chance to, I think, in the lone spot for either 5th or 6th if they win tonight. Mm-hmm. And we have a pretty good chance because De'Aaron Fox is not playing tonight. So I'm rooting for the Knicks to win, and I would like to see Tom Thibodeau succeed with the Knicks, because if Tom Thibodeau succeeds, that means Leon Rose succeeds. And even though I think they've been very wrong to this point, if it works out, and I'm happy. But we do, like, this is a pregame show, and we do one, we have 82 of these, so we have to talk about things as they're happening. So if after the last 3 games, if the things that he's doing that we know as fans, because we follow this team day after day, we know that he's been reluctant to make these changes, and the changes that he made that most fans have been calling for are saving his job, then yes, to me, that is an indictment on the coach's mentality, because what happens when he feels safe again, right? I mean, the roster's not going to change. So if this is what he's going to do for the rest of the season, sure. but we do have to talk about it day by day and hold him accountable. Like it's been great. I'm very happy. I'm not miserable. RJ Barrett had a great game. There's no way I'm miserable. There's no way I'm miserable with that. But we have to talk about everything and be fair about it. So to give Tibbs credit for doing the things that are currently saving his job, but also we have it's been imagine if he did this last year. Would we, imagine if he went to this a month ago. Tibbs has been as flexible as I've seen him coach. Got to give him credit for that. There are a lot of things we can give Tibbs credit for because, and not just Tibbs, but then the front office as well. Because last week, I was out on both. I was out on the front office. I was out on the coach. Now that the coach is playing the guys that the front office drafted, now things look a little bit better. So I want to give everybody credit, but we do have to talk about it's December 11th, and a quarter of the season is gone. And now we're finally starting to see the things that we all believed would have made this team better. And then not just that, but considering that this is a front office that is always one trade away, now that your young players are getting more minutes, now when you call somebody and you say, hey, we got Deuce McBride, they're not going to laugh you off the phone because they've seen him play. You're building value with these players. Whereas with an Evan Fournier, there's only so much value you're going to build. With a Julius Randle, whose value is on the way up. There's only so much value a guy like that's going to build because of the contract that he's on. Now that your cost control assets are playing basketball games and looking good in those basketball games, not only is the product on court better, but now at the trade deadline, next offseason, during the draft, now all your assets look better. So you can attach a protected first round pick to a Deuce McBride and maybe move up 4 spots in the lottery. That's not that crazy anymore. In the
lottery it is. In this lottery it is. No one's trading back for Deuce McBride. I'm sorry.
What I'm saying is say the Knicks are picking 11th. Getting up to 7th wouldn't be that insane because this draft, because I kind of do keep my eye on the draft, doesn't look that strong outside of the top, maybe 3 or 4 players. So you might have some value, right? Getting up. Look, it's a long season.
No, I hear from
I don't want to start the draft conversation.
Draft talk is different. I'm just saying everyone I talk to is this is 15 players deep.
I don't know.
Look, I'm not pretending to be an expert. I just don't know. I've never seen it. A backup point guard or backup wing get you 4 spots.
We're getting sidetracked. The point that I'm trying to make, and it may have been a bad point, but the point that I'm trying to make is that your assets have value now that they didn't have a week ago. And as you continue to play them, the front office looks better, your assets look better, the coach looks better, and the fans were right.
That I think is the bigger indictment, is that everything we were calling for last season, they're trying this season and it's working. What I guess where I'm at is that from the first game, the first time we thought the season was over, when they played the Sixers on Friday night, and he was more flexible than I've ever seen him as Knicks head coach. It was okay, I'm gonna throw an olive branch to Tibbs. And you said if they had tried things a month ago, 4 weeks ago was the OKC game on Sunday, the 145-135 game. We're on our 4th different rotation this season. He's tried stuff this year. XJ, you just went through it. He's changed his defensive schemes. He had a top 10 offense as recently as a week ago. Now, other offenses have got better, but guess what? The Knicks went from 26th to 18th in defense in a matter of 3 games. So I wonder if just the tinkering of the roster that he's been trying to find, that honestly last season he tried to find stuff that worked, and it wasn't until after the All-Star break that he found something that worked, and it didn't matter. They were already out of it. Who cares at that point? This season, the East is so collectively bundled up together that, look, I still think he's an imperfect coach, and I would be curious just to see what a change would be as well. Like I said last Sunday, I just also don't think this week has been an indictment. Is it an indictment on the coach, or is it an indictment on the entire process that this organization goes through of yielding to the coach? I don't know. I like that the Knicks have won 3 games in a row. How's that? I'm happy that the basketball team that I root for and that I cover for a living is winning. Is that okay?
I'm not this kind of fan. So,
I know you're not.
This is a different kind of fandom than the one that I experienced, which I'm not really like this passionate fan who just wants to see the team win. And when they win a game, I had a great day because the Knicks won. Like, no, I want to see the team build a championship contender. And everything that you do, every decision that the front office, that the coach makes that detracts from that eventual goal is a poor decision that frustrates me. Every decision that they make that adds to that potential goal down the line, I love it. I don't care about the win today or, tomorrow or any of that stuff. Like, I am thinking future. I want to build a championship contender. If you're making decisions that build towards that and that give us a better chance of that in the long run, whether that's tanking, whether that's playing young guys, whether that's building values for players who are on rookie deals, like whatever the strategy is, if you're contributing to that eventual goal, I'm happy. The day by day stuff doesn't really impact me as much. So I'm not that kind of fan. I'm a data guy, and I'm a dispassionate fan that just wants to see a championship.
Well, those of us that live and die with games against the Hornets will hopefully be able to keep James Dolan's bottom line intact. So shout out to everybody watching. We got over 120 people watching live. I'm gonna put a comment up here. And shout out to our newest patron, Busy, who has a comment that I'm going to pin. The organization is supposed to give the coach every opportunity to succeed. You can't fault the front office for catering to him. This is something we talked about last Sunday. What came first, chicken or the egg? Are we mad at the front office for enabling Tibbs, or are we mad at Tibbs for what he's done? Is like whose fault is it? Is it Tibbs's fault for running certain schemes and being stubborn and not playing the kids that we thought that he should be playing, or is it the front office's fault for not stepping in and being like, we drafted these kids, you got to play them? Like, I think it's a hand-in-hand thing. Like, Tibbs is an extension of this front office's philosophy. Their need to be as mid as humanly possible is because they are an extension of Tom Thibodeau. That is my take on the matter. XJ, what do you think?
So what are you saying, that their need to be mid extends from Thibodeau? Because to me,
I think it's a both. Like, the reason they hired a Tom Thibodeau is because wins matter to them.
Yes, okay. I totally agree with that. And I think, and I don't know if it extends from Dolan or if it extends from the vision that was sold to Dolan by this front office. Like, I'm not sure what chicken or egg that came first in that.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
What's the only 2 times that the Knicks have tanked in the last decade? It's the year that they got Porzingis, and it's because Melo got hurt. But they had the All-Star game, and because Melo got hurt, they were able to sell him on, and plus it was like Phil Jackson's first year. They were able to sell Dolan on, listen, it's not our year. We'll get a good pick, and then Melo comes back, and that good pick and Melo, or we'll trade that good pick for something to play with Melo, right? Then, like, it's Porzingis, and it's like, oh, it's a player that can contribute, and they never went fully all in either way. Then you have the 2018-19 season with Porzingis out. They were able to sell Dolan on tanking because KP was out, and then midway through the season on trading KP because Durant, Kyrie, and Zion were all coming through that door, and it didn't happen. So I really think that is an extension of Dolan, which is why the Knicks almost have to, I've been saying it since before the season, have to do this half measure. And it's like, we're not trying to win a title, but there's no chance of us being bad. And what I'm enjoying about the team now, and it's why I think I'm pushing back so much about any indictments, is like, this is a team I can get excited watching. This is a team I can root for the rest of the season. If it's this 9-man rotation of everybody under 28 years old, under 29, because Julius just turned 28. Regardless, I could get on board watching this team of kids that they mostly drafted, that they, aren't like, there's no Derrick Rose, there's no Alec Burks, there's no Nerlens Noel, there's no guys that I don't know whether they're going to be on this team or not in the long-term future, and could be part of the team when they're ready to start winning consistently. XJ, go ahead.
I'm so curious about this. Like, I just hate to, I want to pull back the conversation for a second, just because. So, AC, are you for or against tanking, like, philosophically?
I hate it.
Just overall, you would
I hate
are
tanking.
anti-tanking.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that this is like a really clear dividing line between types of fans. I feel like no one really likes to see tanking because, like, during the 2 to 3 years you're tanking, it's awful to watch.
Mhm.
Like, it's
Definitely.
it's so unenjoyable. It's horrible, right? But like for me, it's like if that is the most effective or rational way to get you towards this eventual goal of winning a championship, like if it, then I'm all for it because that's what I want. I don't really want moment to moment joy. I want this, like, I want the maximum achievement, right? And so I just think about, we've talked about this a number of times. Like, I'm very future oriented. Every opinion I have is based on looking forward. And I think that might be a dividing line between some of the way that I see some of the moves and the coaching and the front office decisions and some of the half measure stuff and some of the like late to react and make these kinds of decisions that I think would be important, like playing the younger players more, like all of those kinds of things. Like even when we talked about the Derrick Rose and Deuce McBride conversation, to me, it's like, okay, this is a tough, or others, it's like, oh, this is a tough choice. Should we sit Derrick Rose? It's like, no, it's obvious. Sit Derrick Rose. Derrick
No,
Rose
yeah.
plays 0 minutes. Like, why would Derrick Rose play on this team? And I think it's because some people are like, well, Derrick Rose might help us win a couple more games. And to me, I'm like, so
you'd rather see Deuce's value grow.
I'd rather see
just
Deuce's
see what it
value
is.
grow.
Yeah,
Just see what it is. Maybe Deuce goes in and he's awful, right? And that's fine, that then at least we know, right? But maybe he goes in and he's really good and his value grows and he contributes to the team in the here and now and potentially in the future, and he can bring back more, be part of a package that goes out for a star where otherwise he would have been a throw-in. Somebody might value him. Like, anything can happen, and that's what I want to see, as opposed to seeing what I know in Derrick Rose, who's a good player, very solid, contributes to to wins in a positive way, but like that's not really important to me for the long term like trajectory of the franchise. So I think that's some of the difference.
I guess my bigger frustration with tanking, and I don't know why this turned into a tanking convo, but like, so say they did play the kids last year, and what we saw last year worked. In fact, it did. They went 7-4 in their final 11 games, and everybody got upset because they were winning, and it was like, okay, why? So we got what we wanted. The kids are helping them win, but not you in particular.
I wouldn't be
but
upset with that. No,
so what
that's
it
great
does
me.
to portions of the fan base that are like the only outcome that can happen in a tanking season is losing, is the frustration I have, is what it does to fan bases and what it does to people that only root for one absolute result. Whereas like we're in a situation right now where like Mensa, they're playing the kids. It took entirely too long, and it took a lot of like holding on to see what you could, like squeezing as much as you possibly could out of Derrick Rose and Evan Fournier, and unfortunately the corpse of Cam Reddish, even though I know the Cam Hive is watching, and future Hall of Famer Cam Reddish is what I actually meant to say.
Listen, the chat already hates us. Please leave Cam
Reddish.
Reddish alone.
Bring the Cam into this. I don't know. I see other teams, like the Jazz never tanked to become a contender. I get it. They had some lottery luck, but the things that, not even lottery luck, more draft luck, but I think also intelligent scouting is what I appreciate more. Like the stories of, I went and followed this guy around from high school game to high school game, and I discovered this Donovan Mitchell kid, and he, as a result, that's why Walt Perrin has a job now. It's because he found this guy, it was a 13th in the draft, and found a Rudy Gobert, and all the success stories. I get it. The math will always be on XJ's side, that the better players are at the top of the draft. There's no talent to me in just playing like the probabilities. It's just, let's be bad, and then eventually good players will come to you. But you have done nothing to like build a team. You've just been as at the bottom of the draft. It's how you also end up with Jahlil Okafor, and it's how you end up with who's the other one that they traded? Michael Carter-Williams, who they ended up trading anyway. I don't know. This turned into a long thing, Mensa. I don't want this to be about tanking. I would hope that because the kids are playing now, we're able to enjoy like tonight's game and be like, oh, wow, they won 4 in a row playing the kids. I'm glad what we thought would always happen. I'm glad it's Tibbs' defensive principles are what are leading to winning as well.
I think that's where I don't when I don't believe a team has championship aspirations, the wins and losses don't bother me. The process to how we get to these wins and to how we get to these losses would bother me. If we were running out Derrick Rose, Evan Fournier, and Julius Randle for 40 minutes a night, and the Knicks were like fifth in the Eastern Conference, I would be pissed about that, because what the hell is that going to do for the future of this franchise, right? It's more about process to me. So I'm okay with Tom Thibodeau finally coming to Jesus, because you got to come, listen, you made it home. Congratulations. I'm happy with that. I'm happy. Like there are other issues that I have, like greater issues that I have with Tom Thibodeau, and like specifically the offense is really more driven by talent than scheme, which duh, obviously. But when I watch a team like San Antonio take it to a Miami Heat team who's struggling this year, but when I watch them, like Miami goes to a zone last night, and you know what Greg Popovich said, we're going to attack the middle of the zone with Zach Collins, and we're going to fry these boys like that. I love to see stuff like that. So like, that's another issue for another day, but I'm going to be happy with the wins the way they're coming right now. I'll be happy with the losses. Like if the Knicks lose 7 of the next 8 games, but they're playing all the young guys and they're competing and guys give it like care on defense, then I'm okay with that. The wins and losses do not matter to me, because in my opinion, if you are anywhere between the 7th best team in the NBA and the 22nd best team in the NBA, you are in the middle and you are going nowhere very fast. You are either a contender or you are tanking for one of the top 5 picks in the NBA. Everybody else is kind of up in the air, because like we love Memphis. Memphis is going nowhere. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
I don't know nowhere, but
trust me, you're gonna remember this take in 5 years. Memphis is going nowhere. Okay, nowhere fast. You need to be a team that is either competing for an absolute championship. I'm talking about one of the teams that ends up in the top 4. Like if you're not making the Eastern Conference Finals, or you're not, again, tanking for one of the top 5 guys, I think your season was not largely a waste, but it really didn't matter. Nobody remembers the guys who went to the semifinals, because what happened? John Wall's Wizards. Nobody cares about John Wall's Wizards except for people in DC, right? Same thing with the forgettable Sacramento Kings, or the forgettable Minnesota Timberwolves of the last 15 years. It's all about competing and how you get to competing. And there are different ways and different mechanisms you can do it. You can do it the Miami Heat style, which is by overpaying a bunch of bums and then eventually landing on Jimmy Butler. Or you could do it the way of a Boston Celtics team that robbed somebody and took Jason Tatum and took Jaylen Brown and built around them, or the way the Warriors did it. And I will say, I think somebody on Twitter, I was in a Twitter space, I forgot who was talking about it. I think it was I Hate Sean with the Knicks wall. I think somebody in his Twitter space said that I think from 2009 to now, none of the teams, or like maybe like 1 or 2 of the teams in the top, like who played for the NBA Finals, tanked. None of them did. So like that, there's merit to the discussion of how you win a championship. I just want to see smart team building, and I want to see it from the coach, and I want to see it from the front office. And before this week, I did not think I was seeing smart team building from the coach
or the front office.
Yeah, definitely not the front office.
That's just, it has to be. I have to add that part on. I was with you both on the Thibodeau train last week, that it's like, I'm tired of drop coverage. I'm tired of like not getting anything out of RJ or Julius. He took RJ Barrett out of a 25-point game to put Deuce back in, because he didn't like he was seeing from the defense on Friday. That is something that only Tom Thibodeau does. I don't even know if it's like the smart move to like keep your starters in a 25-point game in Charlotte, but like, because he didn't like what he was seeing, he finally has weapons to deploy on defense, which is what I think that middle ground you're talking about, Mensa, of from 8th to 23rd or 21st in the NBA, is like, as long as like the Pelicans were there last year, and they became apparently my Pelicans, because I was like, you know what? They showed signs of progress. They're headed towards the top of that. And now they're embarrassing the Suns at home. And I really kind of wish we were able to watch that game tonight as well. The Knicks, I think, if they're playing this roster, the current rotation that we're looking at, and they're trending toward that 8 instead of like trying very hard to be 15, is what I can be excited about. And I think we all will be excited with this rotation of kids that they've drafted and are homegrown and are part of the solution. we'll end up there. Busy saying that the Pelicans tanked. No, they didn't. The Pelicans won 33 games the year they drafted Zion.
Yeah, that year pissed me off.
Yeah,
so
that was
much.
the year that the Knicks
Oh my goodness,
lost every game possible.
And ninth best teams in the league. In the 8th and 9th, the team with the 8th and 9th best lottery odds, they were both 33-win teams, and they got Zion and Ja Morant. While our 17-win New York Knicks ended up with my favorite basketball player, and I will not slander him on this podcast, but
played better
we ended up with RJ Barrett when we all wanted the same guy, and so. Lottery luck matters. Don't get me wrong, but that's all I want.
You want to know what's even more frustrating? It was 8, 9, and 12. What was the Lakers' odds? 13.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And then the following year with LaMelo Ball, when I think we were 8th,
we were 7th, and Charlotte back to 8th. Yeah,
and Charlotte was either like 8th or 9th. And they ended up jumping up like, oh my goodness. It gets to be really frustrating with the lottery now.
To kind of just put a bow on the tanking discussion, just because, you know, I think I kind of incited it, but
yeah, you did.
I'm also pro tank. I want to get that out there.
I think Mensa and I had pretty similar perspectives on this, and I just want to put a bow on it. I like D's World of Hoops comment a while ago. The comment, the chat has been very active, which I appreciate.
Yes, thank you, chat.
The comment is tanking is just finding and developing the star/superstar you build a roster with for a 3 to 5 year period. I think that's a great way to describe it. I totally agree with that. I think it's just you're spending like 3 to 5 years either finding through the draft or some other means like the star or superstar that you're going to develop your team with. That's what you're doing. You're spending that time cultivating that presence on your team. And to me, it's worth that investment. It might not be for a lot of people. I respect that. A lot of people kind of live and die with their team on a day-to-day basis. I don't expect people to be unemotional robots like me. And I think that's totally fair. So I respect it. But at the same time, if it's up to me, that's the way I'm going. So that's just to put a bow on that discussion.
So you can tune in to the next edition of Thunder Film School when XJ will be front and center talking about the probability of what this team could be.
If we had SGA after doing what the Thunder did, I think we would all look back and be like, you know what?
They didn't take for SGA though. They robbed the Clippers blind is what they did.
They acquired SGA during the course of their tanking process. It might not always be through the draft picks that you make. It might come throughout some other means. That's why I said it was a great description.
I'm all for the Knicks robbing somebody else blind and getting an SGA out of that. If that's how, great. And they can win games in the process. Look, we're like a week away, not even a couple days away from doing a Bulls pregame. Guess how many Zach LaVine conversations we're going to have over the next week? As the Knicks play the Bulls 45 times. Well, I hate to say it, that's what's going to happen over the next 14 days because they play the Bulls 3 times over the next 2 weeks. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for obliging us with that conversation. Let's get to betting and sweating. Shout out to our friends over at WynnBet. Download the WynnBet app now or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. You bet $100, you win $100. That's bet 100, win 100 at WYNNBET.com. Download, bet, win. The spread for tonight, the Knicks are currently 2.5-point favorites. I'm going to say that has a lot to do with the fact that De'Aaron Fox is out for tonight. The Knicks are minus 140 on the money line. If you want to just bet them straight up to win, it's 226 is the over-under for the game. Some player props to look at. Quentin Grimes, 10.5 points is the line to choose. RJ Barrett coming off a 26-point effort is 20.5. Jalen Brunson had a couple off nights for Jalen Brunson, some uncharacteristic off nights for Jalen Brunson. And it's almost weird that they're now winning when Jalen Brunson is having off nights. They needed him to carry the offensive load so much. Now, when he's struggling, he's actually getting some help.
The Knicks heard all of Macri's comments about how they'd be a 4-win team without Brunson.
Yes. So. Well, now they'd be a 7-win team with Jalen Brunson. Julius Randle points. He's going up against Domantas Sabonis tonight. Usually he sees blood when he sees Domantas Sabonis. 23.5. And then I think the Mitchell Robinson rebounds is another thing to look at. 8.5. As I mentioned earlier, the Kings are so offensive rebound percentage. They're 26th in offensive rebound percentage. That would give me some motivation to take Mitch Robinson's over. If you want to go to 3-point combos, Julius Randle at 3, which again, he hit, I think, 8 last year or 7 last year against the Kings en route to a 46-point performance in Sacramento. RJ Barrett, if you think if he's starting to turn it around, Mensa, 2 is -115. 3 is even +270. And then Quentin Grimes had a couple threes last game too. So if you think he could do it, it's -145 for +2. Okay, where are we leaning tonight? I just realized I did all of that without showing you guys. So RJ Barrett is -115 on 2 +3s. Julius is +115 on 3. And then Quentin Grimes, if you think he can hit 3 threes tonight, is +210. All righty, fellas, where are we leaning tonight for betting and sweating?
Okay. So gambling is something that I definitely enjoy.
Mhm.
And last year, one of the things that gamblers just knew, take shooting guards against the Hawks. Big reason for that was one Kevin Huerter, who plays for the Sacramento Kings now. So I'm looking at Quentin Grimes, 13 points and assists at +100. I love that.
Ooh.
I'm rocking there.
There you go. Player combo, Quentin Grimes.
Points and assists, 13 +100.
Not bad at all. Okay. I like it. Well done, Mensa. All right. I'll say Sean's real quick. He is once again going the Knicks' first quarter spread of -1, and it is -105 for the game. Or for that bet. XJ, you're up.
Yeah, I really like that Grimes pick. And I like what you were touching on about Mitchell Robinson. I didn't realize it was at 8 rebounds.
8.5 rebounds. Yeah.
That is, I'm confused about that line actually.
So what my guess is,
yeah,
I'm guessing Mitch is averaging around 8.5 rebounds a game. And that's usually what these lines end up being. Do you think they'll hit their regular season over?
So I will. Are you taking that, Andrew?
No, it's all you if you want it.
Okay, so I will consider that. I mean,
okay.
I'm thinking about going a different direction. So I look at adjusted ratings, both offensive and defensive ratings, which takes into account strength of schedule. So the Kings are actually second in adjusted offensive rating. They take a ton of threes, like you talked about. But their threes also come really early in their possession. So a weird stat is that they average about 15 3-point attempts per game between 22 and 15 seconds left in the shot clock, which is second only to Golden State. So they get up and down the court. They're going to put up points whether we play good defense or not, just based on pace. And yeah, I think I was looking at some of the 3-point lines, and I hate to do this, but I really need the Knicks to prove to me that this is legit.
Wow.
And
okay.
I'm really shocked that the Kings are the underdogs for this game. So I am going to go Kings money line at
Kings
+118.
money line. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. That I need to see it, and I hope I'm wrong about it. I hope that I look ridiculous after this game, but I just need to see it proven against a really legit team, which I think the Kings are a legit team.
So can I convince you to take something else that still allows for the Knicks to win?
I will consider it.
So Kevin Huerter, 3 3-pointers, -135.
Special.
Yes.
Corner threes.
The thing is that they're playing really good 3-point defense now that they changed some of their coverages.
Why do you think the Kings could still beat them if the Knicks are playing good 3-point defense?
Because the whole strength of the Kings goes through Domantas Sabonis. And he doesn't shoot threes at all. Actually, I think his line is 1 + 3 1 + 3 is plus odds. Well, that's the other thing I was considering.
He hits a 3.
if I can jump in really quickly.
I'll do the Sabonis line. I'll do that one.
No. You had Kings. Hold on. You had the Kings money line. I think that's fine if you want to go with that.
If I could jump in really quickly, Julius Randle's defense is atrocious when he is out of the action, when he's not directly involved.
Yes.
If a guy like Sabonis is who the defense is gonna, is who the Kings are gonna run their offense through, I think you're gonna see a more involved Julius Randle on defense, and that hurts the Kings money line prop, especially when they don't have a guy like De'Aaron Fox. I personally think the Knicks win this game, and I think that with what we've been seeing from Grimes, Deuce and Mitch, what we've been seeing from them defensively, I think it's going to make it really difficult for a Kings team who's on a road trip, and they just played a tough game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who we beat. Like, we beat them, so I feel good about the Knicks winning this game. And if I could talk you off of that Kings money line, then please, something else, maybe points and rebounds, Sabonis. But I think Julius Randle, because the way the Knicks lose to a team like this is if they're not engaged defensively. And if the other team is running their offense through the guy that Julius Randle will be directly responsible for, and if not, Mitchell Robinson is directly responsible for him, then you might have some trouble with that actually coming to fruition. I could be wrong, and every time I've ever argued with a person about a prop, I was the wrong one. So,
oh no.
But I feel really strongly about this, and I would be, not myself if I didn't come out and say that.
I totally appreciate that. I think the only thing to me is that Sabonis at this point offensively is like an elite offensive four.
Absolutely.
And so I don't see. I think you made a great point. You're right. Julius is at his worst when he's not like engaged directly in the action. This is why I think it's great that they're switching him now. I think that's a much better role for him to switch on the smaller guys as opposed to just kind of lingering and playing drop defense occasionally. So I see that point, but I think no one's stopping Sabonis. I don't think Randle is stopping Sabonis. So I think I'm going to stick with the Kings money line. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I mess up. I hope we go 3 for 4, and it's because I messed it up because the Knicks won by 10. I would like that.
I hate to say it. I don't hope we go 4 for 4 at all tonight. What's going to be annoying is when the Kings win, but your two guys props hit, and I'm again the one person to not hit. Because I was thinking of a Julius Randle prop, because he's seeing Sabonis. Just every time he sees Sabonis, for some reason it's barbecue chicken alert. And so let me look at the points, rebounds, assists. 45 is just too high. Even though he had 46 against the Kings last season, it's too high. Points and rebounds for Julius Randle, 35. Even that's a little too
nice
high.
25 and 10 night, huh? That seems doable.
Mitch has been getting the rebounds though. Like Randall's not getting a lot of. Well, actually, the Hawks game.
How about Julius Randle 3 threes?
That might be the one. All right, Julius Randle 3 threes. That's the one. And he'll hit him in the first quarter, and I could exhale the rest of the night. There we go.
Solid.
All righty. So those are our 4 picks for tonight. First quarter spread of -1 for Sean. Quentin Grimes points and assists plus 13 plus at plus 100 for Mensa. The Kings money line for XJ at plus 118, and Julius Randle 3 threes at plus 115. Okay, let's hope one of us is wrong, and potentially only one of us is wrong. Thank you for tuning in for Betting and Sweating, everybody. Download the WynnBet app now or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. You bet $100, you win $100. That's bet 100, win 100 at wynnbet.com. Download, bet, win. Any final thoughts before the Knicks take on the Sacramento Kings?
Yeah, let's go Knicks. I'm happy to see the Knicks win games, even if it comes at the expense of a couple of my agendas. I just want the Knicks to do well. I want to see RJ Barrett do great. I am very high on Quentin Grimes, and I think tonight is a night that he's going to play well. I'm looking specifically because Davion Mitchell, his nickname is Off Night for a reason, and I've seen him clamp dudes up. I think Jalen Brunson may struggle tonight with a guy like Davion Mitchell on him because he's not necessarily like the longest or the fastest. So Davion might, which creates opportunity. I'm saying all that to say it creates a lot of opportunity for Quentin Grimes to have a good night with because the ball's gonna have to move, and when the ball moves, Quentin Grimes finds guys and Quentin Grimes gets himself involved. I do not think that this will be. I'm looking at the Knicks to win wire to wire tonight. I think that this is a statement week for Tom Thibodeau. I think that with Tom Thibodeau's coaching prowess and the brain that is Knicks Twitter put together, the Knicks. I had to get in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. I think the Knicks should look pretty good tonight, and I'm expecting for Julius Randle to do what he does to Domantas Sabonis, because for whatever reason, he hates that guy. And I think that pairs out really nicely with a team that it's the holiday season. There's a lot of people in New York. We want to see good things happen. And the Kings, without like Sabonis has been awesome, but Fox might be the most talented player. And without having Quentin Grimes have to defend the point of attack player in a De'Aaron Fox, that creates more potential for him. And I like RJ Barrett against not necessarily the fastest guys in Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes. So I do think the Knicks should win pretty comfortably tonight. And then of course Mitchell Robinson being Mitchell Robinson, it's hard to lose when you have a guy playing that well at the 5.
XJ, any final thoughts?
I'm trying to pick which one I want to say.
Okay.
No, I like Elemensa's points. I think that's a great point too about Grimes not needing to defend Fox tonight, kind of opening up other possibilities and creating havoc on the defensive end. So, I want to see if this defensive swing is legit. I'm excited to see it. I guess my final thought really is I want to just do an ode to Quentin Grimes because I love Quentin Grimes. I think it's not just his effort. He's so smart defensively. He knows when to switch. He knows how to play and navigate screens. He knows when to trail his man and on the side or hurry and recover and get back in front. He's vocal and he calls out coverages. He's really much more athletic than you think, which we saw in one of his fast break dunks the last game. He got up. He can hang a little bit. And on offense, he has such excellent vision, anticipation. I think he's going to be an elite spot up shooter. We'll have to see. He's been inconsistent, and had a horrible shooting start, but he's already up to 33% from 3. I'm so high on Grimes, and I think offensively, depending on how his shot pans out, I think we'll see him become something kind of like the guy we're going to see on the other end, Kevin Huerter, and I've loved his development. And I think he can be like a Kevin Huerter kind of guy on offense, or like a prime like Bojan Bogdanovic kind of guy. And defensively, I think he can be like an Alex Caruso level perimeter defender, which is to say one of the top guard defensive players in the NBA. So I love Quentin Grimes. That's my final thought. Is I just wanted to give an ode to QG.
The Knicks look to go over 500 for the first time since November when they played the Nuggets, which was November 16th. So it would be the first time in almost a month since they were over 500 when they went to 8-7. So a win tonight gets them at 14-13. It also gets them at 500 at home. They are currently 6-7 at Madison Square Garden. A win would obviously get them to 7-7 with this Chicago Bulls road trip coming up. So we'll see. My thank you to Mensa. My thank you to XJ. Follow them if you dig their opinions. Their Twitter handles are in their name tag underneath their face. My Twitter handle is as well, but if you really want to help me out, head on over to YouTube, give this channel a subscribe, and give this video a like. And I want to clarify. So XJ just went off about Quentin Grimes. That is nothing in reference to Cam Reddish. We don't hate Cam Reddish here on this podcast. He was praising Quentin Grimes. That does not mean he was putting down Cam Reddish. You can
Thank
do
you
one.
For that clarification.
You can do one without the other. Listen, my good PR sensibilities came in handy this week. Shout out to Hawks Fan TV and that nonsense. I'm happy to help you with that as well, XJ. The Knicks take on the Sacramento Kings tonight. Hope you guys are able to enjoy the game, whether you're rooting for a win or a loss. Tune in after the game for John's post game, which will be right here on the KFS YouTube channel, or all those of you watching that are able to watch on Facebook Live or on Twitter Live. Check out Chris at halftime on the Twitter account at Knicks Film School. And thank you for tuning in to the KFS pregame show. Knicks Nation, let's ride. Also, God bless Steve Cohen. Had to, Mensa.